Adrian Keller thought he knew the meaning of power. He thought success was measured in skyscrapers, contracts, and numbers on a screen. But one phone call shattered it all. He had picked up the phone to fire his janitor. Instead, a little girl answered, and with just 4 words, she broke down the empire he had built round his heart. This is not just a story about wealth, or failure, or success. It is a story about the moment a man discovered what truly matters. Adrian Keller was 45 years old and already one of the most powerful men in Europe. From the glass walls of his Berlin office, he didn't just look down at the city, he looked down at the world. Every morning was clockwork. Coffee at 8:05 black, no sugar. Meetings scheduled to the minute. Decisions that moved markets made between sips. He didn't waste time on excuses. He didn't tolerate mistakes. And he never, ever repeated himself. People are gears in a machine, Adrian once told an interviewer. Reliable, replaceable, necessary. If a gear breaks, you replace it. The machine must run. That philosophy had made him millions. It had also made him feared. On this Tuesday morning, his assistant, Mark, shifted nervously in the corner of the office. Adrian was reviewing performance charts when Mark finally cleared his throat. "There's one more matter, sir. The overnight cleaner, Eleanor Fisher. She hasn't shown up in 3 days. No call, no explanation." Adrian didn't look up. "Terminate her contract." Mark hesitated. "Should we at least try to reach her? It's unlike her." Adrian raised his eyes, sharp as a blade. "Mark, do I look like a man who negotiates with negligence?" Mark swallowed, nodded, and scribbled something on his tablet. But when the door shut, Adrian found himself staring at the empty space where Mark had stood. 3 days. No word, a flicker of something he didn't want to name scratched at his chest. Almost reluctantly, Adrian picked up the file. Eleanor Fisher, 3 years employed, 0 complaints, 0 incidents, dependable, invisible. Until now. He frowned, reached for the sticky note with her number, and dialed. The phone rang 3 times. 4. He almost hung up. And then hello. Not a woman's voice. A child's. Adrian blinked, caught off guard. "This is Adrian Keller. May I speak to Eleanor Fisher?" A pause. Then a soft reply. "Mommy can't talk right now. She's very sick." Adrian straightened in his chair. "And who is this?" "I'm Sophia. I'm 7. Are you Mommy's boss?" Adrian froze. The office that usually pulsed with order now felt unbearably still. "Yes," he managed. "I'm her boss." Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. "She tried to go to work yesterday, but she couldn't walk. She said she was scared her boss would be mad." The words sank into him like lead. He had built an empire on discipline, on the belief that people who failed simply didn't care enough. But this was not failure. This was a daughter, speaking with the fragile bravery of someone who had been forced to grow up too soon. Then came the 4 words. Words that would haunt him. "We need the money." Adrian sat frozen. 4 years, he had fired people without hesitation. It was procedure, policy, order. But this was a little girl offering to take her mother's place, because the bills wouldn't wait. "I can clean," Sophia added, her voice almost breaking. "I clean the kitchen at home. I'm small, but I'm fast." Adrian closed his eyes. For the first time in years, his hand trembled as he held the phone. "No, sweetheart," he said, his voice cracking in a way he didn't recognize. "You don't have to do that." Silence. Then timidly, Sophia asked, "Is my mommy going to get in trouble?" And Adrian realized he was the trouble she feared. The CEO, the man in the tower, the monster in a little girl's story. He made a decision that surprised even himself. "Can you tell me your address?" Adrian asked softly. I want to come see your mom. There was hesitation on the line. Then, in the smallest whisper, you're not going to yell. Adrian's throat tightened. No, I promise. The drive took him far from the polished streets he usually occupied. His black Mercedes hummed through neighborhoods where streetlights flickered and paint peeled from walls. When he reached the address, he paused, staring at the worn brick building. He hadn't been in a place like this since his own childhood. The hallway smelled of mildew. Door 3B. He knocked. The door creaked open. Sophia stood there, small, wary, but with eyes that carried both fear and hope. You came, she whispered. Adrian stepped inside. The apartment was small, but clean in the way that comes from effort, not comfort. Drawings decorated the walls, bright colors against faded wallpaper. On a thin mattress lay Eleanor, her skin pale, her breathing shallow, her hand clutching her side. When she saw him, she tried to rise. I'm sorry, Mr. Keller, she rasped. I didn't mean to miss work. Adrian stepped forward quickly. Don't, he said. Don't apologize. She blinked, confused. I just didn't want to lose this job. It's the only steady thing we have. Her words cut deeper than any market loss Adrian had ever endured. Adrian called it a favor. Within an hour, one of the city's top physicians was in the room. Someone used to private homes of billionaires, not crumbling apartments. Sophia clutched her stuffed rabbit as the doctor examined her mother. Adrian knelt beside her, whispering, It's okay. She's here to help. After half an hour, the doctor pulled him aside. She's badly dehydrated. A severe infection. Another day, and she might not have made it. Adrian exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of what almost happened. Do whatever she needs. Bill me. The doctor nodded. You just saved her life. But Adrian knew the truth. It wasn't him. It was a 7-year-old who picked up the phone. Adrian didn't stop at one visit. He came back the next day, and the next. At first with groceries, then with books for Sophia, then with medicine and fresh sheets. The child who had once answered the phone with trembling now waited for him at the door, grinning, sometimes holding up a drawing she'd made. One evening, as he helped Sophia with her spelling homework, Eleanor watched from the couch. You've changed, she said quietly. Adrian looked up. Have I? You were the kind of boss people feared. I never thought you'd notice if I disappeared. Adrian swallowed hard. Neither did I. Weeks passed. Eleanor grew stronger. Sophia grew attached. And Adrian. He began to question everything. The gears of his company, the machine he had built, suddenly felt hollow. He had built towers that touched the sky, but he had never built something as real as this. Trust, care, family. Late one night, sitting in his car outside apartment 3B, Adrian whispered to himself, I've closed 1,000 deals, but this is the only one that ever mattered. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Sophia tugged at Adrian's sleeve. Does this mean you're like our family now? Adrian knelt, meeting her eyes. If you'll have me. The little girl threw her arms round his neck. And for the first time in his life, Adrian Keller, the man who measured everything in numbers, felt truly rich, not because of what he owned but because of who he had finally chosen to be. Sometimes, success blinds us. Sometimes, power isolates us. But sometimes, all it takes is one small voice, one fragile call, to remind us of what matters most. Adrian Keller picked up the phone to fire someone. Instead, he found the family he didn't know he was missing. If this story touched you, don't just keep it to yourself. Click like to share it with others. Subscribe for more powerful, life-changing stories. And remember, sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest truths.